one of, I'm trying to find the right word, pain. Yeah, I think that's the right word. Pain. Because if you have been incarcerated and say that you are innocent, and for whatever reason, you cannot prove that right away, or people know that you're innocent, but they have not shared the information with you that would prove that you were innocent, you can be incarcerated for a long, long time. And that's what you're going to hear from these men, all of whom are part of this program and are now free because of efforts of various projects around the city of Philadelphia. Art for Justice, our partner, and come on up, Anne-Marie. We've been doing this work for a while.
Yeah,
this is our fourth event. And I'm not going to take up a lot of time. I'm just going to tell you about why we do it, and Anne-Marie can tell you about why Art for Justice does it, and the people that work with Art for Justice. So Johnson House is right there. We're an Underground Railroad site. And we are so because, not because it was a house owned by white Quakers, because many white Quakers own property. But this family was a family that didn't believe, for whatever reason, that enslavement was right. They became early abolitionists. And I tell people today, you can say you're an abolitionist, but the shoulders to stand on were those who fought for the initial freedom that was announced in 1865. And so our site stands today as a result of that history. We stand on that history, and we continue to do that work today. And some people might want to know why. Because some of the same issues that were impacting on us then still exist. It's undercurrent. It's manifested in different ways. And so we want to use our history to elevate the voices of those who have been impacted by enslavement and continue to be impacted by enslavement in a different manifestation. And so today we're going to hear from folks who understand that and live that every day, and their families, because we want the community to understand. So our Center for Social Advocacy was created so we could not be the one that tell this story, but be the one that allowed those who are doing the work, like Art for Justice and other activist organizations, to tell their story. And we are just a vehicle. So with that.
Connie Swinson, because she has energized, invigorated, and brought the Johnson House together to serve the community. And first time I visited Johnson House, I was a little girl. So I know I've been watching that place for a long time. So thank you, Connie.
You're welcome.
Yes, and I really am always delighted to partner with someone who's so like-minded about our history. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about Art for Justice first, because Art for Justice is co-founded by myself and a man who is still incarcerated at Phoenix, and I'm going to stand aside and show you the painting he did for this exhibit, which is called Continuing Slavery. And Charles Lawson cannot be here in person, but he's here in spirit, and he's here through his art. And what Art for Justice does, it supports and exhibits art by incarcerated people who have experienced injustice of some form. And then we bring that art to the public to stimulate a conversation about very critical issues in the criminal justice system, and sometimes that could be life without parole, sometimes it could be solitary confinement. Today it is about wrongful conviction. And to that end, I want to thank our 4 speakers. 2 of our speakers are still caught in traffic, but we have 2 here today. So we have Muti Ajimu, say it for me, Asabaru here. And I just want to say a few words because 42 years of incarceration of an innocent man in Pennsylvania. How is Muti connected with Art for Justice? Well, Jerry Givness, Jerry, you can stand up. Muti, you can stand up for a minute. Jerry went into Graterford in 1995 and had an art program, and that's how these two individuals met. We're not going to talk yet. You can sit down. And so Jerry has been his friend, his advocate, all that time, 1997 and today is 2024. Muti came home June 23rd, 2023. So Muti is going to speak for us and tell his story. The next speaker who is here is Daniel Gwynn. 25 years on death row. His death warrant signed twice. Another 5 years of incarceration until he was exonerated on February 28th, 2024. So, Daniel, you want to stand up before? Yeah. And two of our other speakers are stuck in traffic, but when they get here, we will hear from Chester Holman. And Chester was 28 years incarcerated for a crime he did not commit. He came out in 2019. This is my t-shirt from standing on the street, begging people to pay attention, Center City. And let me tell you, everybody walked on by. But Chester will be here. He is an incredible person, and he will be sharing his story. And the final person is Eddie Ramirez, also caught in traffic. And Art for Justice has known Eddie for about 27 years. He was incarcerated for 27 years for something he did not do. He first shared art with Art for Justice in 2005, 2007. You can see his art in the lobby. Eddie is just a brilliant artist and a brilliant poet. So it's a real honor to have these men here today. I have such respect for them. I want to mention, and I skipped over it, that the first time I wrote to Daniel Gwynn was in 2001 after Peggy Sims. Chester Holman. Survivor of traffic has arrived. Anyway, Danny Gwynn, I heard his name from Peggy Sims of the Pennsylvania Prison Society, that Danny was an artist. I wrote to him in 2001, but it didn't connect because Anne Marie didn't have any money, and it wasn't happening until 2005 when I saw an amazing self-portrait of Daniel Gwynn at Mother Mary of the Captives. So when you look at a painting, an Art for Justice painting, it is not just a pretty picture to put on the wall. It depicts the inner soul, the inner journey, the inner conversation of that artist. And in that portrait that I saw composure, I saw resolve, I saw dignity. I bought the painting, wrote again to Daniel Gwynn, and this time he wrote back and we began to correspond year in, year out about his wrongful conviction, his 26 denials, and about art. So that's how Art for Justice is connected. And now I think it's time, oh, go ahead.
So Sankofa Healing Studio is here. They're also partners that we work with. And one of the reasons why we asked them to be here, and it's not just this event, but because trauma manifests itself in so many ways, I'm always aware that whatever we do, losing a home, there's trauma in that. There's history of trauma in our lives. But some people think, okay, you find another place to live. People grieve all their lives from losing a home, especially when they're poor. And they've worked hard all their lives. So many other reasons why. But they're here just to, if you have something you want to say or you want to just, have a conversation personally with them, they are an organization that I would use over and over and over again. Jackie Johnson wasn't here? I'm not seeing. Yes, she's coming back. She's bringing some of her, she has her own organization. So I just wanted to let you know that and announce that they are here as well to talk about anything, all right?
And I forgot to mention that Jerry Givnish is also going to speak for us. All the artists cannot be here, so he's going to speak for Renee Ortiz, who is still incarcerated, still fighting his case, and Jerry will tell you the details. One other thing, Charles Lawson has a cousin who will be showing up, and she has a petition that we can all sign. Art for Justice folks have already signed to support Charles Lawson's appeal for commutation. So without ado, I'm going to jump over, and I see my dear friend Chester Holman, and invite him to come up here, and please welcome this absolutely incredible man of whom I'm so fond. Hey, I'm good. Yeah.
Have a seat. Okay. Well, good afternoon. I'm not quite sure what the program is, but I'm Chester. Okay. Well, I'm Chester Holman. I'm a. I don't want to call myself a survivor, but I will just say that I am one who made it through. I served 28 years of a life sentence. I had life plus 5 to 10 and a 1 to 2. I was released in August of 2019 after a long, long fight. I went to prison when I had just turned 21. I came home when I was 49. And, when the whole ordeal came about, I was studying criminal justice. I was in college. I was actually working for an armored car service. I was a driver guard. So I was actually going into banks and various stores picking up millions of dollars. So when they arrested me and accused me of robbing someone, I was just like, this is the strangest thing. I mean, how can that be? And, I had actually was on my way to necessarily getting in law enforcement, or I wanted to be somewhere in there, maybe a lawyer, but I knew that was the field I wanted. I just had this fascination with the law since I was a young kid. So to find myself on the other side of it, it was just like, I just couldn't believe it. And to see the things that I witnessed within the system, I sat in Holmesburg Prison, which is the county prison here in Philadelphia. I sat in the county for almost 2 years waiting to go to trial. And in that time, they had come to me and offered me a deal of 5 years to 10 years if I would just admit this crime. And they wanted the driver, and there's supposed to be 4 people in the case. They wanted the driver and the shooter. I was charged with conspiracy. They had no one else but me. And, naturally, I couldn't take a deal because I didn't commit the crime. So we took it to trial, and my trial lasted almost 2 weeks. And, I thought it looked fairly well. The jury came back and found me guilty of second-degree murder. And in that time, my parents had spent just about everything they had on attorney fees. And, after I was found guilty and convicted, I was sent upstate, and, it was just, like I said, it was a long fight back. And in that time, my parents went further and further into debt, going fighting these appeals, and eventually, maybe 8 years later, my mother actually passed away. And out of all the things I've experienced, that is probably the hardest thing I've had to deal with. Receiving a life sentence, that was a backbreaker, but getting the news of my mom passing, that's what broke me. And, one of the things my mom had told me throughout my entire journey, she used to come see me every week or every other week, and it was like a 2.5-hour ride up into the mountains where I was at SCI Retreat. And she used to always tell me, don't lose yourself. After every visit, after every phone call, she would say the same thing. Don't lose yourself. Be the man I raised you to be. And at the time, I didn't understand it. It wasn't until she passed that it started clicking. And, in prison, you can get caught up in different things, gangs, drugs, whatever the case may be. And what she said, it just resonated with me. And, for a period of time there, I didn't want to be alive. I said, with her not here, and I got this life sentence over my head, and in Pennsylvania, life is life. So I'm doomed to die in this cell. And, you know, those words, like I said, just resonated in my head. Be the man I raised you to be. Don't lose yourself. And I just, like I said, I just buckled down and I focused and I just started seeing a different picture. I said, you know, I can't give up, and I didn't. Eventually, the Innocence Project came on to my case. Arch for Justice took a big help with promoting the, I guess, the word, getting the word out. Yeah, the story of my case, right. So they helped to get the word out about my case. And like I said, it took 28 years, but it finally came about. And in that time, you know, a lot of people always, when I first came in, people would say, why aren't you angry? Why aren't you bitter? I just felt like, you know, I watched so many men in prison lose themselves. I mean, they actually like, lost their minds. And then a lot of them became bitter. And I said to myself, like, I'm already in prison. I'm already hurting, you know, to allow myself to be hurt even more so. And because it takes energy to be angry. It takes a lot of energy to hold on to that anger. And there's just no way I could survive by being angry and hurt all at the same time. So I just took a different path, and I said, you know what, this is my life, this is what it's going to be. But wherever I'm at, I'm going to make the best of my life. You know, if I have to be there for the rest of my life, that's what it's going to be, but I'm not going to be bitter. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to let that consume me. I'm going to make the best of it, and that's what I tried to do. And, you know, when I came home, naturally we sued the city. I was given a large settlement. And, you know, people think, you know, after you get these large settlements, you know, I got, you know, get these millions of dollars, that life is all of a sudden okay again. And, you know, it's all right to have money. You know, I'm able to put gas in the car, put a little extra cheese on a cheeseburger now. But as far as, like, life itself, you know, life itself, you know, it's not going to erase the time that I lost. You know, I wasn't able to have children. I don't have any children. You know, most of my grandparents, my nephew, my mother, they're all gone. So trying to rebuild a life, even with all this money, I can't rebuild the life that I really wanted. Really want life that I felt like I deserved. So now we're in a space where I'm in therapy every week. I've been in therapy for almost 5 years. Since the day I came home, I've been in therapy. I'm still in therapy. I was in therapy 3 times a week. Now I'm down to 3 times a week. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I mean? But because of that therapy, you know, it's helped me to stay focused and not, you know, lose myself. And like I said, I can't say it enough out here, you know, since I've come home, it's a lot different in prison. But at the same time, there's a lot of things I learned in prison that I kind of brought home with me in terms of respect, humility, and just appreciation for life itself. Because in prison, like I said, we couldn't walk on the grass. I didn't walk on the grass for many, many years. You know, we weren't allowed on the grass. So all I knew under my feet was concrete. So to come home and to be able to walk on the grass now, I just thought it was like the greatest thing. And most people look at you like, what? It's only grass. No, it's more than just grass. You know, being able to stand in the rain. Because even though it rained, they rushed you in. They didn't want you outside. So you had to get inside. So to enjoy the raindrops falling on your head and falling on your face, little things like that, you know. Being able to use silverware, you know, an actual fork, actual knife, spoon. You know, these things that you take advantage of or we don't realize, you know, how small it may seem. But it's really a lot of significance to it in terms of, you know, the freedoms that we have. And so, you know, I'm here, and like I said, every day it's a challenge. You know, I have my girlfriend that's here. I've been with her since the day I came home, and you know, we have our challenges because of my trauma. You know, I spent a lot of years not being touched. I didn't hug anybody, so to come home and now and want to hug somebody, it's like, you know, my sister, my father, I'm just not used to that. I wasn't used to that, and then sleeping in the dark. You know, when I first came home, me and my father, we butted heads a lot. Even though he loved me and he helped me get here, I hadn't been in the dark in almost 30 years. You know, there was always the light on. So when I get home, my dad's trying to save money by turning all the lights off, but, you know, it's not, I just can't, I couldn't do it. And so I would turn all the lights on in the house, then I'd nod off, and he'd turn all the lights off. I'd wake up and scared to death, you know. Then I'd run around, turn all the lights on, and like I said, we just butted heads for a minute there, and then I think he finally understood what I was saying and what I had been through. So, you know, it's been a journey, not only for me, but for my loved ones and for my family. But like I said, I'm just thankful every day that I'm here. You know, I was concerned about naturally of dying in that bed. I spent 17 years in one cell, and the other time I'd moved around. But this one, before I came home, I was in the same cell for 17 years. You know, and it took me like, when I moved into the cell, I was on the top bunk like the first 6 years because my cellies were in and out, so I was on the top bunk. for like the last 11 years, I was finally made it to the bottom, like I had achieved something. I didn't have to climb that ladder anymore, so I was on the bottom bunk to the day I left. And, you know, so to be here and be out here in society and the world amongst other people, and, you know, I just count it a true blessing, and, you know, it just humbles me every day when I wake up, you know, just to see these days, to see this time, because I really never thought it was going to happen. And so to be here and, you know, sharing my story. I actually, sir, also just to share with you, I serve on the board with the Innocence Project. You know, it's just my way of trying to give back and enlighten people on these things that really happen, because if it hadn't happened to me, I truly wouldn't have believed that these things were possible. So to have gone through it and come out on the other side now, I think it's only right for me and Danny and Muti and, you know, guys like Eddie that's coming, you know, to share our stories. It's not so much to receive sympathy or anything like that. I've never looked for anything like that. You know, I just try to enlighten people, so maybe to inspire, to give them hope, because you don't necessarily have to go to prison to feel like you're in prison, you know. And I know a lot of people out here are suffering and struggling. So, you know, if I can just give you some words of encouragement, I would just say just be thankful for every day we have, because these days aren't going to always be. You know, we're all going to leave this place at some point. So I just try to make the best of my life, the best of my every day that I have out here, as we all should, you know. That's really all I got, you know what I mean? So I just hope you guys are inspired and continue to just live your lives the best that you can. Thank you.
I just want to say we changed up the structure of this. We were going to break into 4 small groups, but we're not going to do that now. After all our speakers speak, we're just going to get a big circle and talk together. But now, please welcome Muti.
My name is Muti Ajumo Sabaru. I'm from the great state of North Philadelphia, city of Richard Allen. That's a stab at gentrification, because they never wanted North Philly to be North Philly. They've always trying to make it disappear. Like, just listen to Chuck tell a story. It's, you know, it's like going back down memory lane. And a lot of things that he experienced, I experienced as well, but I handle it a little different. And it's amazing to me that you could survive this nightmare. It's a Holocaust. I'm grateful to be here simply because me being here is a testament to the spirit of my village, because I was raised by a village in Richard Allen. And anything that I know that's worth knowing or worth emulating, I learned from a woman, a black woman. So that's what I drew on those 42 years. That's what I drew on for those 42 years. Can you hear me? All right, okay, all right, very good. Yeah, that's what I drew on for those 42 years, the training that I was given in the village of Richard Allen. How to survive, how to organize, how to turn within, how to critique yourself, how to think critically, how to move critically, how to assess and analyze people, who was good, who wasn't, etc. One of the things that Chester touched on, he talked about not being bitter or angry. I'm not bitter or angry. I'm an intense individual and I've always been intense. But to me, it's sort of disrespectful when reporters ask us, are we angry? Because if we want to be angry, we can be angry. We have a right to be angry. Putting in a cage for X amount of years and then having all types of ungodly things done to you. I could go into some of the things that not just was done to me, but things that I witnessed and things that I came to the aid for, because most of the so-called trouble that I got in, it was coming to the aid of fellow prisoners, because I was a human rights activist before I went to prison. And of course now I'm a human rights revolutionary and a freedom fighter. But for me, every day since being released in, I think, in, let me say 5, 8 days, I'll have 1 year home. And every day has been just beautiful. It's all beautiful to me. The trials, the tribulations, especially when Chester was talking about the light situation. That was crazy. I had a situation the first night. First of all, let me back up. The first day that I was home, I went to maybe 5 or 6 events. They had a lot of events for me. And then it culminated in a coming home ceremony. And everything that I did, I didn't plan any of it. All the stuff that I planned, I didn't do any of that. Did a whole bunch of other stuff. And once the day was over, that day, the first day, was really my last day, because the second day was my first day. Because my first day was my rebirth, because it wiped away 42 years of suffering. And I could never, ever, ever imagine that happening. And if somebody told me that they did that, I would curse them out, say, you lying, you broke, you scared, you know, and all those ugly things that you say to people that you vehemently disagree with. But it happened to me, and I experienced it. And it wiped those 42 years away. And I'm not saying none of the scars are not still there and so forth, but I know what I experienced. It was deeply spiritual. And just all that washed away. So the second day was really the first day of my rebirth. And in that rebirth, from that time on, it's all been up. Everything has been up, the challenges and everything. And one of the challenges was the light situation. The very first day I get home, I come home, I'm living with my sister, she got all the lights off. And I'm like, what is this, the bat cave? Like, what? I'm not a bat. And so I get up, and I'm like super security minded. Anyway, just even before prison, it just became exaggerated once I went to prison, because you have to be vigilant, because you're around a lot of predators. And you're also around prisoners too, because mostly the guards are predators. But you have prisoners, prisoners that are predators as well. And so you have to be vigilant. And I went to prison as a child. So as a child, you really got to be circumspect, and you have to be vigilant about who you're around. You have to see things long terms away. You have to see people moving, making chess-like moves, 15 moves in advance. People always ask me, do I play chess? I've never played chess one day the time that I was in prison. I never played any games, because I didn't have time to games, because I had to fight to win my freedom. But I always tell them I play chess every day of my life, and I'm really good at it. But in coming home where all the lights was out, I used the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I go, and the bathroom window was open about this much. And I'm like, uh-oh, somebody's in the house. And so now I go into security mode, and I lift the window up, I look out, it's a glove on the roof. And so I said, so I went downstairs, you know, I geared up, and so now I got a flashlight. I went out on the roof with the flashlight, and I'm looking, and it's pitch black. And I'm looking for if I see people, because it's a glove there, like on the O.J. Simpson tip. So I'm looking like as if somebody's trying to break in the house and they're hiding on the wall, you know, just to not be seen. So I'm going next door, not realizing I'm on the neighbor's roof. I'm in violation like I don't know what. All I need now is the neighbor to come to the bathroom window and see me, and they be like, somebody on the roof trying to break in. But fortunately, that didn't happen. So I went through all of that. So then I came out, I had to do a once-over of the entire house. Then I went in the basement, and everything said, okay, everything's cool. And so I went upstairs, and then on my way coming down, I fell down the steps. All the way down the steps. I'm talking about sliding, my head hitting every single step on the steps. And I'm at the bottom of the steps, and I just started laughing. And I was like, damn, my first day home, and I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die falling down the steps. I just went through 42 years, 2 months, 3 weeks, 4 days, 18 hours, and 23 minutes, and 36 seconds. And now I'm gonna die on these steps the first night home. And And I laughed so hard, I woke my sister up. And she's like, "What's up?" And then I'm telling her the whole story. She laughing, I'm laughing. It was just amazing. But that's like, it's a million stories like that. But everything fits into the context of actually just moving forward, growing, building. And for me, going to prison as a child, I was indicted with 4 other children. And one of the children, in order to save their life, took a deal for the district attorney and testified all against the rest of us. And they added me sort of like as a bonus. And what's funny is, in him doing that, they actually came to me after they caught me, because they caught me about maybe 9 months later. They didn't actually catch me. They told my mother they wanted to talk to me. They wanted to interview me about the murder, because it was a homicide robbery. And we went in and they arrested me, and she kind of knew that. But in all of that, they offered me the same deal that they gave him. They offered me, when Chester talked about pleading guilty for 5 to 10, same deal. Take this 5 to 10 and we'll let you go. You just gotta testify or tell your side of the story. And I was like, I ain't no side of the story. And their thing was, well, we don't care, just make something up. And so in doing that, I seen right from the giddy up that they wasn't, their thing was they wasn't interested in the truth. They wasn't interested in justice. They weren't interested in due process. They weren't interested in equal protection. They weren't interested in the Constitution of Pennsylvania, the Constitution of the United States. They weren't interested in the courts, the rules and policies and procedures that they abide by, their oath of office. They weren't interested in any of that. All they knew was they had 5 little black boys, because we were all children, and they're going to put us in prison simply because they can, because we didn't know anything. We didn't know anything about the law, what our rights was. They didn't care. And in fact, they salivated off of that fact. So yeah, we're going to book them. And then me going to prison, then to begin to study the law from day one, I found out that that was systemic. And that was routine. I look up here and it says matter as a minimum. Well, I mean, since day one, their thing is black lives don't matter. Brown lives don't matter. Poor white lives don't matter. That's what this country was founded on. That's what I learned by studying the law. When you study the law, you really see what this nation is about. And when you discover that, I realize that many of us are living in denial about what's really going on in them courtrooms, in the streets, and so forth and so on. But I managed to meet some very good people along the way. Anna Marie pointed out Jerry. Jerry came up with a crush militia unit. Him, Lily Ye, German, Glenn from WHYY, and their team was just, and we was into art, and they love art, so it was a match made in heaven, and we just turned up. And then Kevin O'Neill, and we was able to do what we set out to do, which was secure our freedom based on actual innocence, evidence of actual innocence. But for me, it's just been a never-ending crescendo, just up, 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 up. And I would say that there's been nothing bad, because even the challenges for me just represent, an opportunity to sharpen your skills, to hone your skills, and to move from survival to thriving. If you could, any one of you could follow me around just one day and see what I do every day, you'd be amazed. And I just say that because it's just something that I prepared to do. The work that I do, I have a background in law. I have to wear multiple hats. I'm a journalist. I'm a guerrilla journalist. I have a podcast. I do multiple. I'm a filmmaker. I'm an artist. Chuck talked about art was back then. He don't do it no more. I understand that, because for me, since I've been out, I haven't picked up a brush. And like I said before when he was interviewing us, I may at some time pick up a brush. I may never pick up a brush again. Who knows? Art at that particular time served its purpose. He talked about Holmesburg. Well, that's Holmesburg prison right there on the wall. You know what I'm saying? I captivated that. And if you ever been in Holmesburg, you know that's like Castle Grayskull. It's Brigantine Castle, Count Dracula's castle, all combined into one. You know, and the things that go on in there is just so vicious and gruesome and macabre. A lot of folks don't want to know about what goes on. And so through art, we're able to tell the story of what goes on. I just bought a T-shirt from Danny. The joint he got, all his work is brilliant. His work is just super duper brilliant. But it's one joint that I bought, and it's him standing in court, and it's these reams of paper. And the paper's just like knocking him down, and his feet is like drowning. The floor is like quicksand, and he's holding it up. When I was at Graders for what we called it, he just put an image to what we had a phrase. And the phrase was, if you're a litigator, we called it recycling paper, because that's all you was doing. No matter how much you dotted your I's, crossed your T's, you asserted the facts, you marshaled the facts, you added the evidence to the facts, and you applied the law to the facts and the evidence, and you presented the truth. None of that mattered, because you were dealing with a people who words meant absolutely nothing to them. They break their words every day. They bend, they shape, they mold, they scoff at their own words and try to hold people accountable to the words of the law. And one of the maxims in this country is that good thing we are a country of laws and not men. That's one of the biggest lies that they tell. This is a country of men who disrespect the laws, who break the laws every day. The men who write them, legislate them, they break those laws every single day. They twist them, they shape them, they stomp on them, they scoff at them. And so studying the law, you learn what really happens. You learn what's really going on. And once you learn, you have two choices. You can be, like Chuck said, you can be bitter and just paralyzed, or you could get motivated and teach and advocate for other people who don't know. And that's what I did. I chose the latter, to advocate for people who don't know, because I vindicated the rights of thousands of people, not just prisoners, but people who've never been to prison. Because once you study the law, it takes you everywhere. Real estate, testate law, family, parental rights. You study all those things and you can help people. And that's what I chose to do. One of the things anyway, because you do multiple things. You discover you have these talents that you didn't know you had. And those talents actually help you to stay afloat in there while you're moving to the front door. One of the things for me is that I was in many of those prisons, because when you're a human rights activist or human rights revolutionary or freedom fighter, they punish you. They're very retaliatory. Like if anybody who studied the so-called slave narratives, the slave narratives are analogous to what's going on in American prisons in 2024, right now, on a daily basis. So if you want to know what's going on in American prisons, just read the so-called slave narratives, and you know exactly what's going on in these prisons. And so in me advocating and learning these things, I knew that to disseminate this information, to expose it, because they do those things in the dark. And when you expose them, these various administrations will punish you by snatching you up and sending you to another prison, and then you start all over again. Oh, y'all doing what? Y'all beating people to death? Oh, we got to write about that. Oh, you're raping people? Oh, we got to write about that. And you're starving people? You're killing people through medical neglect? Oh, we got to write about that. And every time you do it, you anchor down, you let them feel your presence, you do the work for as long as you do, and then they snatch you up and send you somewhere else. And then you go there, you start from square one. And that's how I did. And for me, it didn't matter to me, because I wasn't one of those dudes that was stuck to a particular prison, because you do that. Some folks become institutionalized, and they be like, I don't want to do that because I don't want to get transferred. Like, well, my thing is, all of these prisons have a front door. All of them have a side door. All of them have a back door. You know, we want any door except for the trap door. And so for me, it didn't matter where you sent me. me advocating is what I've been taught how to do, to advocate for other people who are less fortunate. And so for me, doing what I do is just, that's how I've been trained. That's how I've been educated. I was raised in a village that taught you that this is what you do, this is how you live, and this is how you move on this earth. I'm a wind down. So I just want you to know it's been an honor and a pleasure to come before you and share with you my experience, or part of my experience, because I didn't even talk about court, because it's really not that important. Thank you very much.
So you're going to hear more from Muti when we break into a group, and you can have conversation back and forth. The man has a lot to say. And now we're going to introduce Eddie Ramirez, and thank you, Muti.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out. Hey, Jerry. If we could, I'd like to start things out by maybe getting a little lively. And so I'd like for everybody here who appreciates their freedom to just, I'm going to put the mic down, just yell out, freedom! Freedom! From the lungs, from the bottom up. Because that's how we got to do it sometimes. We got to come from the bottom up. Because they take us low, we have to work hard to get high, to place ourselves in a particular place. So usually every day around this time in the afternoon, I like to say a prayer. I say my prayers 3 times a day. In the morning, I thank the universe, I thank the Creator, I thank God for the blessings that have been bestowed upon me, and I pray for the guidance to go in the right direction. In the afternoon, and this is what I'd like for you all to join me now if you can, to just acknowledge that we are not alone in this world, that we share this space with each other and with others who we don't even know. And so, for them and for us, we hope to combine our energies so that we can go in a better direction, so that we can be more humane, so that we can be better neighbors, so that we can share more love with each other. Can I get an amen on that? Thank you very much. And so I also want to give thanks to my brothers Danny and Chester and Muti. And I want to acknowledge, for all of you that do not know, you see us here, but what you are not seeing and what we represent are a nation of brothers and sisters, mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, friends, and loved ones who are in prison who deserve to be free. No person should spend the rest of their life in a cage, because no person is an animal. We are human beings, and we all have the capacity to love very deeply. We have the capacity to learn from our mistakes, and we should be in communion with one another. And so for that, I will acknowledge a few people who are not here who should be acknowledged. If they have not been acknowledged yet, I want to start with Charles Lawson Zafir, who is the co-executive director of Art for Justice, who is a personal friend and a mentor to me. Angel Rene Ortiz, who hopefully will soon be joining us. And by hopefully soon, I don't mean today. I mean he is in the process of being exonerated through the courts. And so I pray for that brother every day that he be with me. I grew up with these people. I went to prison when I was 19 years old, and I was sort of a sheltered kid. Like, my closest friends were, for the most of my life, family members, cousins, my neighbors who lived next door to me, but really not anyone who lived too far from me. And then I went to prison, and I met these individuals who I might not have ever met, or people who had lived a certain lifestyle that I was not familiar with, and they raised me. Luis Gonzalez, who is home but could not be here because I believe he's out of the country right now. Hernan Cortez, also known as Spell. Spell is, for me, sort of instructor in the arts. Even though I had not met him at the time, when I was 15 years old, someone introduced me to graffiti, and it is said that artists learn how to become artists by mimicking other artists. Spell is the first artist that I mimicked, and to whatever degree I'm an artist, if you appreciate my art, you are really appreciating the instructions that he gave me. There are so many. Christopher Williams, Christopher R. Murray, who was a part of our program. I'm sorry? Man, you should have, did you invite him? A tremendous poet who we would sort of battle wits and sharpen our words together. there is a community inside of SCI Phoenix, but they were transferred from SCI Graterford, who I spent 20 years with, building. People tell me I have a gift for communicating. That gift would not exist. You would not see that if it were not for these men who are still in chains. And so I pray for them every day that they be home shortly with us and with their families and live out the rest of their days in peace and love. So I guess now, just briefly, I'll tell you what my experience was and how it came to be and where I hope it will go going forward. In 1996, when I was 19, I was arrested for a robbery homicide at a laundromat I had nothing to do with. In fact, I had only gone to the laundromat to get a soda. And because I was one of the last persons in the laundromat, I was accused of robbing it and killing the attendant on duty. Why they chose me when there were more viable suspects, I'll never know. I can only speculate. And I'll leave that to you to speculate as well. I can say that the fact is, evidence was withheld from me. Juveniles were coerced and intimidated into giving false testimony against me. And there was exculpatory evidence. I mean, they wouldn't withhold, inculpatory evidence, I don't think. And so there was a system in place of intentionally railroading me and putting me in prison and keeping me in prison that lasted for 27 and a half years. I have to give credit where credit is due. While he is not perfect, Larry Krasner and that administration, Matt is here. I don't know if he's representing the administration, but this, there are people who are working in Larry Krasner's office right now who are dedicated to the truth. And oftentimes in organizations, there may be uncomfortable compromises, but I really do like to rely on the words of Martin Luther King Jr. when he said that the moral arc of history bends towards justice. And I'd like to believe that the Larry Krasner administration is one more step in the direction of justice. So for those 27 and a half years, the first maybe 7 years, I bounced around from jail to jail, prison to prison, and I was young. I had a head full of steam. I had no direction. I had tools, but I had no idea how to use them. It wasn't until 2003 when I got to SCI Graterford that I met individuals like Tyrone Wirtz and Albert Bandy and Andre Davis. These men who, if you don't know them, I wish you did, because then you would see the light that I saw that guided me while I was in the dark. The orientation that they gave me was, all right, now you're here at Graterford, what are you here for? Just visits from your family? And I said, no, man, my next step is going home. They said, all right, well then today's the day that you start to prepare for that mission. And I started to build my social contacts. I started to put away a little bit of money. I started to make sure that I was prepared for my reentry. And one of those ways that I did that was through creating art. And I had met Jerry, this is when we were working for the Village of the Arts and Humanities with Lily Ye, and we would get together on Friday afternoons, and Jane Golden was, at this point, had turned her sort of voluntary mural project into a full-scale work detail, and I worked with them for 20 years, and I honed my skills in both visual arts, literary arts, and communicating, because that's part of it. You cannot just create art and just put it there and expect that it's going to change the world. You have to be part of that change. You have to be forceful. You have to be larger than your humblest and most meek self. You have to be able to stand up and shout, "Freedom! Because if you don't do it, who's going to hear you? Who's going to care? And so I was in a space with these brothers who heard me, who cared, who taught me, and now I'm here so that I can carry them with me everywhere I go. My friends and family will tell you, I don't think a week goes by that I don't cry. And they aren't necessarily tears of sadness, they're also tears of joy, because I have so much, I am so much better because of the men that I have met. And so with my art, with my communication, with my poems, with my friends, with my family, I bring it all to you so that together we could be a community and we could do something great. That's it for me, guys. I love y'all.
So this is a real unbelievable time. I mean, I've known these men for years, and this is how we talk, all right? And it's great to share it with you. And I would like to now introduce the one, the only survivor, Danny Gwynn.
Can I do this real quick? Is it this one? Welcome home, Daniel Gwynn. Everyone keeps saying that to me. And sometimes it does resonate. Other times when I'm by myself, I don't feel it. I ride my bike through the city, and I feel alone, but I feel free too. I feel alone because the city that I love, the city of brotherly love, tried to kill me. They tried to murder me twice for a crime that I did not commit. I didn't know the people. Told my lawyer this. He like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll just try to get you a life sentence instead of the death penalty. I'm like, I don't understand that. I didn't do this. But, he still wanted to try to get me life. He wanted to try to plead to the court, to the jury. He even told my family, oh, he was a drug addict, so, it won't matter, they won't believe him. You just, telling them he was high at the time when the offense took place. So, because I didn't know my rights, because I didn't know the law, I went along with him because I was forced to make a false confession. Psychological coercion is real. You think it's not. They get you in that room, those detectives, they are skilled, they are trained to trick you into believing what they want you to believe. And then they get you, with their little banging on the desk, kicking your chair, slapping you in the back of the head or something like that. And me, I was going through withdrawal because I've been doing drugs for 10 years because I was in so much pain because I didn't understand my mother. I didn't understand why she stayed with these abusive men who, separated me and her, because in the beginning, it was just me and her. My father, he was somewhere else with another family. But my mother, she was my queen, my warrior. And that's what I painted right there. That 38 by 48. I painted that when I came home because I still had things to say. I still have my mother's spirit, coursing through me, So I was incarcerated for arson murder that I didn't commit. 30 years, 25 on death row, 5 years in general population because they didn't know how to make up their mind what to do with me because they know I was heading on my way home. But that was thanks to Larry Krasner and his crew. They came in, they saw the truth, they found information, documents proving that, there was a lot going on here that we didn't know about. And, they wrote a nice, they wrote a nice report about the injustices that happened to me, and they convinced the judge to let me go. There was a whole nother case that the victims in my situation, they were involved in. Some guy, drug dealer, druggie, I don't know which, he beat up one of their friends, killed them, and threatened them, told them not to say anything, or he would go come back and kill them. So they were all squatters, so they was afraid of this guy. So they testified. And 3 days after they testified, the place goes up in flames, okay? All of that information was wiped out. We didn't know about it, me or my attorney. My attorney now says, oh man, if I would have knew that, I would have fought harder for you. I'm like, yeah, right. So all that information was hidden. When the victims were asked, hey, who committed this crime? They said, oh, it was this guy named Rick. Now, I can tell you that name because that's in the files. You know, that's what we know. But my name ain't Rick. I am who? That was real convincing. My name is Daniel Gwynn, not no Rick. But yet and though, these people, they gave me this nickname, Rick. But the witnesses, they gave a description. And the description was of the man that beat their friend to death and threatened them. But somehow the police came kicking in my grandmother's door and dragging me out of there. Well, they didn't, because really, you know, I saw them coming, jumped on the roof, and ran down the street. And I'm looking at them like, hey, see y'all. But 10 days later, they caught me on a humbug because I was trying to go buy drugs. But that's another story. I got plenty of them. So, 10 days later, they catch me, they interrogate me, they coerce me into a false confession, and, you know, we never found out in our discovery about this other case, about, you know, what these witnesses testified to. I don't know why these witnesses went along with the police, you know, in their identification of me, but, you know, I know they were squatters, they was in some trouble themselves. So maybe, you know, I don't know, I ain't gonna speculate because I don't want no, you know, misquotes out there. So anyway, they got this whole other case going on. This guy, I mean, he talking about he got friends that's gonna come and kill him and all this information, you know, wasn't there. It was a photo lineup with this guy in it. But, you know, the prosecutor come and say, oh no, Danny Gwynn was in that one. He was a filler in that photo lineup. Okay, where's the photo lineup? Oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't exist anymore. I'm scratching my head, I'm like, how the hell is, you know, you gonna pick me out of a photo lineup, but the photo lineup doesn't exist? That don't make no sense. So, can we see any evidence that, you know, connects Danny Gwynn to this crime? No, they don't have any. All right, okay, well, what the hell are they doing knocking on my door? We still don't know to this day. It's an unsolved mystery. So, now, I'm sitting on death row. These people trying to kill me. I'm trying to tell them I didn't do it. They don't want to believe me. I tell the courts, hey, I'm innocent. They don't want to believe me. They even, on my direct appeal, they had turned around and changed the facts that was introduced into evidence to confirm my conviction so they can sign my death warrant. This was the first one. I'm like, wait a minute. The police officer tells you in open court that he did not have any reason to stop me, you know, grab me and throw me in his police car. Okay? He was just curious because I was, you know, walking around late at night trying to buy drugs. So, okay. So, how in the world do the Supreme Court turn around and say, well, that arrest was justified because it was a high crime area. There was a police report saying that, you know, suspicious activity was happening and there was a burglary. Okay, so what did that got to do with me? You know? But yet and though, they used that twist of facts to confirm my conviction. And try to kill me. I mean, this is the city of brotherly love we're talking about. Where's the love? So I ends up in solitary confinement for 25 years. Now, most of y'all say solitary confinement, what is that? I mean, you know, couldn't be really that bad. It was hell. They treat terrorists that bomb 9/11 or, you know, that marathon, the Boston Marathon, they treat them like that. They throw them in these cages. They keep the lights on at night. They, disorient them with sound. They, similar to what they did to us. You know, they walk around and bang on the door with their keys, talking about count time, count time. Or if we want to come out for a shower, just to go from here to there. I mean, not that far, for a shower. They want to strip searchers. They want to shine a flashlight at my body. Excuse my language. They want to shine a flashlight up my behind, right? And then they want to pat me down after they done shackled me and everything and took me out and go to the shower, go to the yard, go to the law library. They did these things to intimidate all of us. And a lot of us didn't want to come out of our cells because of that. You know, I mean, but then staying inside the cell, you know, sensory deprivation. You're stuck in here with your own thoughts about the past, the future not going to have, you know, and your thoughts eat away at you. You don't know what you want to do. So, some on shower days, you know, a couple of guys will take their safety razors and slit their wrists. Thankfully, you know, not all of them died, but, you know, then you got other guys, mentally ill people, you know, banging their heads against the wall, screaming at night because they're reliving the crimes that either they committed or experienced or whatever hell they've been through. I got to hear that echoing in my mind to this day. I try not to think about it because it makes me cry. It makes me scream. I'm angry because I have to live with that. I'm angry because I can't do nothing to help them. Because if I do, then I become a target for the guards to send me a tray with feces in it, with disinfectant in it. Or I might end up like my friend Samuel Randolph, you know, who got his back broken. Now, I mean, he's exonerated now. He's out. He's trying to get surgery, but they messed him. They broke his back because, you know, he was resisting their torture. So, thankfully, you know, I found art. Art saved my life because I was able to transcend out of that prison, out of that hellhole, and I was able to heal myself. They wasn't giving me no help in there. You know, books through bars, found friends there who would send me books, you know, art books, books with photographs in there that inspired me to make little drawings and stuff that, you know, helped me make cards that I can give to other prisoners so they can give to their family, you know, their loved ones. And, you know, that made me feel better. So I kept doing it. But it also gave me a little bit of money so I could order law books, law materials, paper, you know, things like that, you know. So I was able to research my case, able to communicate with the lawyers about the things that was wrong with my case. Because if you don't educate yourself about, you know, what's going on in your case, the law, or who your lawyer is, you know, you can end up, you know, in that hellhole for the rest of your life, or, you know, death by incarceration. So, painting really saved my life, but it also enabled me to help others. I saw a lot of suffering around me. So one of the things that helped me, truly helped me, you know, embody my mother's spirit was to give to other prisoners. I, you know, with the help of many people, you know, on the outside who saw my artwork, thanks to that little lady creeping around out there, you know, Anne-Marie Kirk, Art for Justice, you know, exposed the artwork, the beautiful artwork that I was putting out there, you know, in prison. But now I was outside, and people was like, hey, who are you? What you doing? And I'm like, this is what I'm doing. And what I would like to do is sell my artwork and use the proceeds to help other prisoners. I couldn't do a whole lot because I wasn't making a lot of money. You know, I wasn't trying to get rich. But I was able to purchase, I think, at last count, 25 $50 food packages for, you know, mentally ill, the elderly, death row prisoners when it was still solitary confinement, you know. And, you know, that really made me feel good. That really helped me survive in there, you know. Another thing that I did was, you know, I really tried to stay out of other people's cases, because if you don't get them the relief they seek, then they think it's your fault, then they want to stab you in the back or knock you over the head or something. So I try to stay away from that, but I try to also steer them in the right direction. You know, hey, there's a book right there, you can go read. You know, oh, you don't know how to read? Okay, A, B, C, you know this word? Okay. Help them, you know, learn how to read, learn how to write, stuff like that. So I did those things. But one of the things, you know, that truly saved me, you know, was my friends that reached into the prison, saw my potential, and helped me flourish. So now I'm an international award-winning artist, you know. Even though I came in third place, but I'm still international award. My mic agreed. It just, wow. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. So now I have to wrap this up. I'm sorry, but don't miss me, because, you know, I'll make appearances again and again and again, because there's so much to tell you. You know, because there's so many horrible things that continues to happen in our prisons. And, you know, I can't give it all to you at once, because you're not going to want to come back. You know, but with this little bit, I hope you do come back and want to learn more about how the system, you know, is broken, is really broken, but it's fixable with your help.
All right, thank you. And thank you all for really bringing your hearts, minds to listen to these men and the journey they've made. But as I said before, all of the artists cannot be here. Charles Lawson, Zafir, our co-founder, who's a massively talented person who has his artwork here, he cannot be here, but he's still fighting his case, and I want to let you know that his cousin is here collecting names of people to support his commutation. I would like to ask if you can read about his case, and please sign that if you can. And now I want to welcome Jerry Givnish, who's going to speak about Renee Ortiz, who is not here yet. So here's Jerry.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jerry. I'm speaking on behalf of Renee Angel Ortiz. He just called me. If you heard my phone go off, that was him calling. He wants to find out how it went.
I told him this event's going to happen today, and he told me what to say on his behalf, so I'm going to get to that. But October 6th, 1990, a guy named Harry Krantz. Looks like a guy named Harry Krantz drove to North Philly looking for drugs, and he was stabbed and died in Temple Hospital a week later. And 2 weeks after that, a young man named Hector Flores walked into the police station and said, I have a confession. I was part of the people who killed Harry Krantz, and I'll give you the names of the other people who were involved. One of them's name was Spade. So eventually the police picked up somebody they thought was Spade, and they picked him up, brought him to Drown House, we interrogated him for 10 hours, and said, okay, and he denied anything to do with the crime. He didn't even know who Harry Krantz was. And they said, if you sign this piece of paper, we'll let you go home. It was a blank piece of paper, so he signed it, and half hour later the cops handcuffed him and put him in jail. And he's been in jail ever since. So that's October 26, 1990, he's been in jail. He's had 4 post-conviction appeals, all denied. I don't think he's ever been allowed to speak in court. And as somebody said here, the PCRA, the post-conviction appeal, that's another word for recycling paper. So I don't think anybody reads that stuff. He had a lawyer. Miraculously, he has a new lawyer and an investigator, and they got the case in front of the judge, and hopefully will get released later this year. So Larry Krasner had his case for a while, and I don't know why he didn't do anything with it. And the Pennsylvania Innocence Project sent his case back and said, we can't help you. And then a long time ago, one of the other prisoner help organizations rejected his appeal. So it's disheartening that people who are in business of helping prisoners don't always help prisoners. Just a little statistics. Philadelphia has more people serving life without parole than any place in the world. Not just the United States, any place in the world. They have 3,000 people who are citizens of Philadelphia serving life without parole. Okay. Renee says, the criminal justice system needs reforming, but it's the people in the criminal justice system who lie and do not respect justice. Will we ever be able to reform everybody in the criminal justice system? We doubt it. There's always going to be people who are in it, and the human element is always flawed. Renee said, I went to jail and I became a free man in jail. So his evolution is he found God in jail. He has a relationship with God, and he doesn't feel like he's in jail anymore. He feels like a free man. And it's because there was no hope from any human that was going to get him out. So his reliance was on his faith and his relationship with God. So Renee wanted me to give this testimony on his behalf. Okay?
So I call him Saint Jerry because he has been there for so many people, and he has supported Renee relentlessly. Renee calls him once or twice a day. This is standing by somebody. All right, we're going to end this with our speakers all coming up here and just taking a seat. You can move it, and we're just going to talk. Anybody has a question, you can ask a question. If you want to share something of your experience, you can share it, but we're ending at 4 o'clock.
Okay, welcome back. All right, what's the question? Who inspires me? Well, there was an individual, he's no longer with us. His name is Harold Wilson. He was incarcerated on death row with me back in 95, 96. He was the first person that I met in prison that I wasn't scared of. He sent down a kite, hey youngin, dig this. You need to learn about your case. Here's the schedule for the law library. This is how you get there. And then from there on, man, he was the best of friends. I mean, he taught me how to, research my case. He taught me how to speak to my lawyers. He taught me how to speak to the public and not be afraid to tell my story or ask questions. Oh, and he also taught me how to get my transcripts, which is the most important thing.
So I really want to say something to what Anne-Marie just said about how we could do it, where she thinks she could not do it. I'm here to tell you that each one of us has the strength within us to endure and to thrive in any situation, so long as we have love and support. And so that is what got me through 27 and a half years, was the love and support of a great family, great friends, and just brothers. They're not even friends. They are brothers who I grew up with in that system. I mean, there's nothing more that I can say to that. I can only sort of embellish the fact that love is what gets us through everything.
What was the question? What inspires? Oh, it's a whole bunch. We'd be here all night talking about that. I'm very blessed because the people that I'm around are blessed. My comrade, Sister Obayanzi, she inspires me. I met her in prison. She came in the church. She's an amazing woman. She brought a whole contingent up, and her and I met, we connected, and she never stopped supporting me since then. So you support me. You're amazing. My son is here. Shirai, can you please stand up? He inspires me. Make me mad as hell at times, but he inspires me. My grandson's in the car. His wife is in the car. My daughter-in-law. They inspire me. It'd be nice if they was here right now, Lil Zulu. Jerry inspires me. Lorraine inspires me. Anne Marie inspires me. Everybody that I'm blessed to come in contact with, to meet, to build, to get to know. The more we get to know each other, the more we're able to move forward. And just do what we do, because we all do it, but we just do it in different ways, and when we come together, it's much more powerful. So I'm inspired by many people, many things, many circumstances. These brothers right here, I'm inspired by. When I hear them speak, I told him when we was up at Harrisburg for like the 15th time, because we've been going up there trying to change the laws and whatnot, he spoke and he dropped something. I didn't even know he was a spoken word artist. And I was like telling him like, yo, bro, you need to do this a lot more often, because you are a lot better in it than a whole bunch of people I see. Way better. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm inspired by these brothers. The things that they do. Chuck, like Danny just going in, like when CBS interviewed us, Danny just started getting real, and immediately she shut down. She didn't really want to hear the realness of our circumstance. Left me a little ticked off. But I understand that, nobody really wants to see what's real. But I'm inspired by everything and everybody I'm blessed to come in contact with, and I try to reciprocate on every level, because I think that's the way it should be.
I think for me, when you're in the midst of something beautiful, you sometimes don't necessarily recognize it in that moment. I think, for me, it was my mother. My mother was on dialysis for my entire life. She got up, she went Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. She would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, she would go to dialysis. She'd come home 2 o'clock that afternoon, and, that is just draining. But she did this my entire life. And I watched her get up every day. And the day she had to go to dialysis, she would come home, clean, cook, take care of me and my sister, do all the, the duties around the house. And, she just, and it was just, I don't know where she got the strength. And at 9 o'clock, she would just go into bed and just fall asleep. And she did that as long as I can remember. And, she never complained not one time. So I think it wasn't until many years later that I kind of reflected back on that. And I said that was strength that I was in the midst of that I didn't realize I was in the midst of. What inspires me is just seeing people that are strong. Because, when I first went to prison, I was 140 pounds. And, guys were just telling me, what to do, what not to do in prison. I didn't know. And, I just watched. I people watched. And I saw a lot of strength in there. And I said, that's what I got to be. I got to be strong. And I know I'm at a point now where sometimes I can be a little, I'm not as open at times, but I just think I'm inspired by strength. And people not wanting to give up, people willing to fight, for their rights, for their freedom. That's what inspires me. I'm not saying I'm not a fan of weakness, but I'm not saying it comes in all different forms. But that's what inspired me, strength, because that's what we had to be. But we were going through what we were going through. We never would have made it without that. So I'm just inspired by many things. But I think it started with my mother and watching her, what she endured all those years, and that's where I'm at now with it. So, like I said, I commend all these men up here today. This is another thing that inspires me as well, because like I said, I'm not really a fan of doing this anymore, because I've been home for like almost 5 years now, and I did this when I first came out. I did a lot of this. They put you in front of the cameras and all so forth, and you share your story, and this is my pain. This is my pain. This is not just a story. This is my life. And it's a painful thing to tell over and over and over. But at the same time, I also want to give back and inspire other people to understand that these things do happen, and also to be grateful for what we do have. So, I'm just thankful for you guys showing up and sharing what you do. But for me, this is probably going to be the last time you see me out for a while. because I'm trying to live my life, and it's no disrespect, but I just got to move on, and so I just thank you guys for letting me be a part of this, so I'm always there whenever you need me.
Is it on? Oh, feedback. I'm technologically challenged, so you're going to see that quite a lot. I just want to say this, too. Like, again, I'm inspired by these brothers. He was talking about strength. He taught me that, and you probably don't even know it, that there's strength, unreal strength, in vulnerability. Because in one of these interviews, I think it's this one or that one, he was home and he was sitting on his couch and he was interviewing him. And he had said, I'll never forget these words. I'm paraphrasing. But he said, they asked him, how did he feel? And he said, I don't feel like me because everything I had, it took everything I had to get out of that place. I don't have nothing left. And that's vulnerability. That's power. That's mighty to say that, because I understand where he was coming from when he said that, because that was a part of my fight, and I promised myself that I would never, ever give up everything. I would always reserve something, and my mantra was that it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you always got to leave something in the tank. And inspiration comes for me from watching brothers like him be vulnerable, because it's mighty. And that's, for me, that's the only way we can really get what we need to have and know, as Eddie just said, that you all have it in you. Everybody. Your prison may not be the physical structure. There's a saying that stone walls does not a prison make, no iron bars a cage. But you may have conceptual incarceration. You may be in a domestic situation where you in prison and you got a warden and everything. Or in this conceptual incarceration, you might actually be the jail keeper. And you might be the warden too. You might be the prisoner and the warden, and you won't even free yourself. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Does anyone else have a question? Was the police officers bad actors? Mm-hmm. Okay. The answer to your question is yes. It would be very helpful not only to overturn possibly his conviction or get him some type of relief, right? Commutation, it will also help with that, depending on the time. Because I think now we have a bunch of police officers that Mary Krasner's office has exposed. And that has, created a domino effect. And a lot of people are receiving relief because of that exposure. So yes, it will be very helpful. Anyone else? Yes.
Okay. All right. My name is Edie Page, and my son, Drew Coleman, has been incarcerated. It just went over 20 years on last Sunday. I think he might have been in retreat this year. Yeah. Check. Yeah. He has successfully gotten his second habeas corpus, which is an appeal in the federal court, pro se. Most criminal attorneys never achieve that in their own professional life. He's currently fighting for his life, and any help that you can give me or suggestions, I would appreciate. I also participate in the Germantown Hub for Justice, and we help people. It's part of participatory defense. It's a national movement, and we help people when they catch a case. We are not professionals, but we will advocate for you and go to court with you. So, thank you so much. Anything that you can help me with, I would appreciate.
Can I take a stab at this one? So I just want to say, right, recently I attended an event for an individual who, in my opinion, basically created the blueprint for how to get out of prison. And what it requires at its root is community involvement. I can tell you that from my experience, my family was in between a mix of shame and powerlessness, and they did not know how to ask for help. So for the families of those who are wrongfully convicted and the innocent in prison, we need to come together as a community, and we need to utilize all the tools that are at our disposal. Social media, our churches, our community organizations. We need to get out there. We need to build a coalition. We need to have events. We need to have fundraisers, and that your loved one's name needs to be present in the community at all times as much as possible. The more you do that, the more likely you are to, and this actually goes back to the situation with Zafir. I don't know about the honestly, I don't think it would be effective with the commutation board, because the commutation process is not the place to sort of relitigate a case. What they really want to know is, can we trust you to get out of prison? And so in both commutation and in overturning a conviction, when advocating for someone that's in prison, the thing that's key is public support. The more support you have from the public, the more influential that support is, the more likely you are to be successful in a campaign to bring your loved one home. You're welcome.
I'd like to dovetail on what Eddie was saying. 2 quick points. One is, sister, make sure we exchange information so we could, because that's one of my fortes, the participatory hub defense. And also in terms of Zafir, to add on to what Eddie just said, the more people you have involved, the more likely they are to conclude, though they may not want to, is that we can know, they already know how they've done us dirty. Mind you, these are all innocent people up here. I'm the only one actually that hasn't been exonerated. Eddie has been exonerated, Danny has been exonerated, and Chester has been exonerated. Only one who exonerated me was the parole board. And in real time, that sort of doesn't count. But if you understand the battle, we actually made history with the parole board. Because if you go before the Pennsylvania Parole Board and you tell them that you're not guilty, they're going to deny you parole. And so my thing was, see, everything that happened is supposed to happen. There's no accidents, and you glean experiences from the things that happened. And prior to me going before the parole board, 30 years, I advocated for other prisoners before the parole board. So I was real familiar with the parole board and vindicating their rights. And so once I got before the parole board, I didn't try to pretend. I knew I was a human rights activist. They knew it. And so I'm not going to hide and say, well, I'm just this new dude that repurposed my life. No. Here's who I am, just in case. Because sometimes you got to reintroduce yourself to people. And I told them, I said, for the last 30 years, I've vindicated the rights of people before the parole board. And what I discovered is 2 things. A, that the Pennsylvania Parole Board is a bastion of white supremacy. And B, you have no respect for the rights of black, brown, and poor people. That's who you are. That's who I am. Let's get it in. And so I didn't hide. And in the course of them denying me again and again, I convinced Georgetown Law School to get involved. And then after that, Princeton Law School got involved. And then after that, Northwestern Law School got involved. And that's a fight they didn't want when I was by myself, so to speak. But then when I had all these heavy hitters come in, it wasn't that they was doing anything profound. It was just that they brought flashlights with them. So now everything that was being done in the dark, we can see it now. And so that's what you have to do with Zafir. That's what you have to do, sister, with the defense, participatory defense of. Bring light to dark situations. They're hiding and doing the things that they do. Most people know they do us dirty. Now, if they do these to innocent people, you imagine what they're doing to the people that's guilty.
Okay, Muti has a lot to say, and he has a lot of value
Always.
to get, but what we have to do, Eddie has to leave at 4, and so what we're going to do is we're going to thank these men, but they're going to stick around. You want to talk to Muti, you got a lot to say, you can keep on till 5 o'clock, but we have to wrap it up. I would like everybody to stand up and give honor and respect to our speakers. Yeah. Thank you, and please stick around.
Real quick, I just want to make one more mention of something that is critically important, that we have these events, and oftentimes when we talk about criminal justice reform and getting innocent people out of prison, XYZ, Black Lives Matter, it's usually the face of a man that we're talking about. That is the representation of injustice in this country, right? It's time that we start putting women at the forefront of that conversation and highlighting the injustices that women face daily in the criminal justice system.
Thank you.